Welcome back everybody. You'll notice the King's tub rack has been removed and we've got the final edition for now of the Ranger tub rack. I've just installed the brand new Triple M lift up tub rack and it is fantastic. It's very practical solution that gives you access to everything inside your tub. You can load it up, lift it up with things on it, and it makes life so much easier. How much better is it being able to reach in even through the sides like this into the back of the tub and you still have a flat rack on the back. The rack install is really easy. You need a few tools, you've got to drill a few holes, that's pretty much it and you're done. So come along as we show you how. So that King's rack was never intended to stay on the back of the Ranger. I simply had it up there so I could demonstrate the rooftop tent, and the plan was always to pull it off and put it onto the new camp trailer project, which is sitting there in the shed. So that'll come out in the next few months. I'm just trying to work out what I'm going to do and how we're going to do the plan of attack on that. But the plan was always to put my mountaintop crossbars back on, and I've got an old steel rack. Now the funny thing is, if you give me 2 seconds, I actually bought pretty much exactly the same roof platform so I could do my own conversion onto my crossbars that we originally fitted onto this Ranger. Like, this was in postage when Matt released this particular rack. Now, in my case, I'm not going to go and reinvent the wheel, so I'll have to use this for something else because now I've got 2 of exactly the same roof platforms. So I've gone and installed the proprietary solution, which you can go out and buy now from Triple M Tub Racks up in Queensland. Now Matt from Triple M Tub Racks makes all this gear himself. He's got really good quality, and we've already fitted one of his roller shutter supports way back in the day when we first fitted the King's tub rack onto this particular ute. So if you are looking to fit a tub rack at all, particularly onto the Rangers or any ute with a roller shutter, you need to put a support underneath. So as part of this package, he'll typically provide this opening rack as well as the tub supports. Now, if you've also got a next gen Ranger like what we've got here, and we've been through that a few times, but I'll disclose it here so you're aware, you do need to fit J braces as well into the front portion of the tub. Now, that's not a fun job. I would recommend you get your Ford dealer to do it during a service or something like that, but you can fit them and buy them yourself. So they're the 3 things that you need to do if you're looking to put load on top of one of these roller shutters. But it's a real good practical solution because the one thing with the roller shutter is while it protects everything inside, you can't actually load it up with anything. So the whole idea of putting a tub rack on gives you that multi-level storage, which is really efficient when you're using this as a daily vehicle, a camping vehicle or anything like that. So in our case, we can put some swags and all sorts of stuff up here that can probably get wet and it's not a big drama while we're doing a quick weekend getaway or something like that. Underneath, I've got my fridge and all the gear that you want to put inside and don't get wet, because the roller shutters actually do a really good job of weatherproofing the inside of the tub here. But the big drama, as everyone knows, is that if you've got a tub rack on, it makes access into the tub extremely hard. Even if you open up the roller shutter, you don't really have a lot of room and you've got to crawl in and sort of cramp yourself up. So the idea of having this lift up solution means you've got oodles of access even through the side here to reach down and grab everything from inside your tub. The best thing with this is that you can actually load this up with your swags and bits and pieces like that, leave them strapped on and lift it up. It's got the capacity to do that. These struts are rated to 100 kilos. So as long as you don't put more than 100 kilos on, this will lift up and cause no dramas at all. It's really easy to pull down and it is super easy to install. So let's go through what you need to install this particular tub rack onto a ute with a roller shutter, because that's essentially what they're made for. We'll head into the shed, we'll assemble it all, we'll come out, put it back onto the back of the Ranger, as you can see here, and I'll show you how easy it really is. So first things first is you need to install the roller shutter brace, which Triple M also provide to suit their tub racks. Now I chose this over, say, a bespoke item because it's extremely discreet. In fact, you probably can't even see it here in this section of the video. And what I really liked about the Triple M roller shutter support, as opposed to some of the competitors out there, is it doesn't have any supports that come down onto the tie downs down inside the tub here. So in the case of a Ranger, it's extremely hard to remove those tie downs. So it avoided that whole pain. You simply undo a few fixings under the roller shutter here, you put the new brace in, bolt it all back into place, and it's done. It's dead easy and simple to do. So to me, that is a really good plus. And that's why I promoted all the Triple M roller shutter supports, because to me, it was the best and simplest solution out there. So Matt was pretty appreciative of that. So once he released this and I showed some interest in it, he sent it to me. So Matt has sent this to me. He didn't want me to do a video on it necessarily, but I'm going to do a DIY install video just to show you how easy it is. And that provides him with some instructions he can send out to people as well. So if you're looking at this and he sent it out, I would really appreciate a subscribe. I do a lot of camp trailer, caravan, camping sort of modifications, gears, reviews and stuff like that. I'm all about the DIY, keep it simple, basic, affordable and practical. So this to me ticks all of those boxes. It's a real neat, tidy, economical solution, because other than this solution that Matt's come up with here, you've got the Ute Master one, which comes in at least double the price. He uses a generic rack, but he's put this really cool logo onto the back of it. And more importantly, he's got his really nice extrusions that he's known for to make that are all beautifully finished off, powder coated, ready to go, and it's a dead easy install. So let's duck into the shed and I'll show you all the little bits and pieces that come as part of this kit and how you go about assembling it. Now that we're back in the shed, what other components does Matt give you? So you mount this up really easy onto the back of your ute. Now, other than the rack itself, which Matt provides as part of the kit, you also get two of these side rails. They're really good quality, heavy duty, powder coated side rails. And I love the little attention to detail that Matt puts in. He's got his logo laser cut into the side there. These are really nicely finished. And they've got these really good adjustment slots, so you can adjust it in and out to suit the width of your particular ute tub that you're trying to mount this rack onto. Now these are essentially backbones, if you want to think about it like that. So these are like the backbones that you'd put on a platform rack over the cab of your ute, your four-wheel drive or anything like that. And they're essentially acting the same way. The difference is they've got this little hinge point at the end, so you've got a little hole here, and there's brackets that go in so you can lift this up and down. And then at the other, we've got another little hole here that you can secure and lock it down. And then as part of that, he also provides these turnbuckle bolts. So that allows you to quickly and easily release the end near your tailgate so you can lift it up and down to gain access into the tailgate, given what this product is all about. It's providing that ease of access so you can lift it up via the gas struts. And that's what makes this all work really well. So it provides two gas struts. They have a 100 kilo load rating from standard. And we'll show you through the installation how you actually mount the ends onto the rack itself will determine how much load it can take when you lift it up. And obviously the more load you want to take, the harder it is going to be to pull down. So it's coming up with a bit of a balancing act there. And that's why Matt doesn't actually drill the holes in there. You get these two strut mounts. Now these actually go down onto the roller shutter itself. So these sit inside the tracks and they allow the actual struts themselves to go on and secure it onto the tub. Now obviously you've got some adjustment backwards and forwards as well as onto the rack itself. So there's a lot of adjustability with this kit, so you don't have to be worried too much. And at the end of the day, if it's a little bit too hard to pull down or it's not quite lifting the load up that you typically have on your tub rack, you can always drill another hole and adjust this strut backwards and forwards so that you can load it up and get it working in your particular instance. You get all the mounting hardware in little bags just like this, so it's all nice, neat and tidy. And we'll go through those as we do the installation. And then finally you get the 4 brackets that actually go down onto the roller shutter at either end. They've got a little bit of adjustment in the bottom of them, so you can slot them from side to side to get the width right, as well as the slots you've got on the upper brackets. So you can get it all nicely centered on your rack. And then obviously you've got some mounting holes here that take the hinge points as well as the turnbuckles, so you can secure it down on the tailgate end. So you get 4 of these as well as all the other hardware, and we'll show you how easy it is to mount it all up right now. The first thing is to clean a table off and put a bit of a sheet down so you're not marking the rack itself. I'm going to put an old picnic rug down because that's what I've got, and that should provide a little bit of scratch resistance against the table that we're working on here, which is my trusty old workbench. So we'll bring the platform in now, we'll sit it upside down on the workbench, and then we'll start mounting up all these brackets, and I'll show you how easy it really is. Now, one thing I like to do before I start a project is just to lay everything out. So you've got all your brackets and bits and bobs, but all your hardware as well. So Matt actually combines a lot of the hardware up. So you've got the pins that the struts go onto, so they come with the washers and the nut already assembled onto them. So that makes life a little bit easier. But then you've got all the miscellaneous bolts, washers, nuts and stuff like that, all laid out, so when you go to assemble the rack and everything that goes with it, you can easily access them and you know what you've got there to work with. Obviously you're going to be following along with the instructions as well, but it gives you a little bit of a helping hand when you're laying everything out to get into that headspace of where everything goes and all the little parts that you've got to deal with. So that's my little tip and trick for the day to make life a little bit easier for you. So we've got our rack down on the table and it's upside down. I've positioned it so that this end here is the cab end and the end with the logo on it is the tailgate end. And that's how we're going to work from front to back essentially. So the first thing you need to do is remove these 2 screws at this end and the other end to mount the backbone mounting rail onto. So it's just a simple case of unscrewing these. Do all 4 corners, and remember we're on the long side. So you're going to take the screws out opposite the curve, parallel to the main rail that runs down the platform itself. So I'll go and get the other 3 corners done, and then we'll mount our fixing rail onto the platform itself. And now it's a simple case of installing the side rails. So given that this is the rear with the logo, you want to match the logos up. So the Triple M goes on the end with the Triple M logo on the platform itself, and you simply lay it down into place. Now Matt gives you these M6 washers. You simply place them over the screws that came out of the platform itself, and then we fix them into place, just like so. And you can now maneuver this bracket in and out to suit the width of your particular tub. So go and do all 4 corners to get these mounting rails roughly into place, and then we'll go through a few little bits and pieces you do to secure them down and have them all nicey nice. So now that you've got all 4 corners roughly into place, it's now a case of mounting the 2 rear brackets. So all the brackets are the same, just grab 1 or 2 of these and they go onto the cab end of the platform itself. Now you'll note, as I said before, that Matt also provides a set of bolts, and these are the pivot bolts that go in and assemble it all together. Now you'll notice in here there's a number of washers. So you'll have 1 washer on the outside that goes onto the bracket itself. Then you've got 2 washers that sit in between. So you don't want any of these metal components rubbing on themselves, which will eventually wear off all the powder coat on them. So you want to sleeve this bracket with washers on either side so that it can pivot and not rub against this bracket when you're lifting the platform up and down. So it's a simple case of just undoing the nut and slowly pulling the washers off and assembling this so there's a washer in every layer as you go through and mount the bracket on. So we got our bolt with 1 washer on and this little pinch tube that goes in so it doesn't all compress together. We'll put that through, then we put another washer on, then we put our mounting plate on, and you'll note that there's 2 holes. I'm going to use the upper hole just to lift the rack up a little bit. We'll put that on, put another washer on, and then the final smaller washer, and the nylock. To make life easy for you, you want to tighten up the hardware at this point on these 2 end brackets. So I use an M4 Allen key on the head of the bolt and then a 13mm socket just so that they're sitting in the upright position. Now it's a case of just going out to your ute and measuring the distance between the slots that these are going to mount onto. Now I'll make it easy for you. With the next gen Ranger, it's around about 1370. So once you've got that measurement, you want to come in, get your trusty tape measure and measure across from centre of centre to the bolts of these mounting plates themselves. In our case, we're pretty much on the money with 1370, which matches the next gen Ranger. And now why we do this is because Matt provides some additional hardware to go into the third slots on each of these brackets. So the case now is adjusting this in so that it's equal on both ends. So I'm going to quickly put the mounts on the other side. Just make sure it's all squared up with that 1370 from centre to centre all the way through. Then we'll get into drilling a few more holes for the M8 bolts, a second lot of holes for the struts to go into this rail on the platform itself, and then we're pretty much done.
A few moments later.
So I've now checked to make sure it's all pretty much square. At this point, just so nothing moves around, I'm going to go down and tighten down the 8 existing screw fixings that we've just put back in with the oversized washers that Matt provides, just to keep it all into place. And then I'll show you where you need to go and drill a few holes to get this installation all finalised and ready to roll. Now looking from the rear, here's our mounting brackets we've just put on. Tilt them to the side and you've got these 3 slots. Now you'll notice on the platform itself, there's this slot that runs through, and that's a centering slot, so you can drill additional holes in it. What Matt does is he provides you with some additional M8 bolts, washers and nylock nuts. You want to drill a hole just here on this third slot with a 8mm bit. So we'll drill that now. Get your vacuum to clean it all up and get rid of all the swarf so it's all nice and tidy. Now we simply get our M8 bolt with the washer on top, slide it through, get the second washer, put it underneath, along with the nylock, and secure it all down into place. And then we want to do the same to all 4 corners to secure this down onto the platform itself and to make sure it's not going anywhere. So just do the outside, don't go drilling 2 holes or a hole on the inside. Has to be on the outside or else it won't work. And just like that, the side rails are now mounted onto the platform itself. And now the last thing we need to do is mount up these struts and it's ready to go on the back of your U-tub. Now there's a few different ways to do this, and I've been looking at how Matt's been doing it on a lot of the different ranges as well. You can actually mount these so that they sit down and the mounting point's more towards the back of the cab, or you do it the other way where it's kind of like a bonnet, I guess, where they sit more forward like this and do their thing. I guess it's probably more like that in reality. Now I'm going to mount them back this way, so it will go towards the front of the rack itself, and to me that provides a lot more clearance so you can reach down inside under this rack itself when you're trying to access the inside of the tub, and you don't have to worry about, you know, this brace sort of sitting through that you got to try to climb and wind your arms through. So the purpose of all this is to make it really, really easy to reach down into the tub of your ute once you've got this rack installed, rather than the old-fashioned way where you've got a fixed platform and you can only go in from the tailgate side. Now the balls on these brackets simply just click in, so you just clip them in like so, and they're secured into place. So do that on the bottom of both of the struts, and then we'll go and work out how we're going to position this onto the rack itself. And now they mount to the outside of the rail like this, but let me quickly go over the other side and I'll show you what the general theory is. So Matt does say somewhere in the middle is sort of where you want to do it. I'll probably drill a hole actually here on the back end of the second rail in from the back of the platform itself. So we'll actually drill 2 8mm holes. So this is the cab side. We're coming forward to the second last slat, and I'm going to put it roughly in line with the back of this slat. So it's a little bit further towards the rear, so that'll mean I'll have a little bit more load capacity, but it's not going to be too hard to pull down. What Matt does explain in his instructions is obviously the further you mount this back, the more force you have to pull it down. It's a leverage and geometry sort of thing, whereas the further you have it back, the less it's going to support when you lift it up, but the easier it's going to be to pull it down. So we're trying to come up with something because I'll probably have some swags and stuff on here. Not a huge amount of weight, but I don't want it sort of sagging and falling down, you know, when I'm out camping and trying to unload all the gear from underneath in the tub. The other thing that Matt also suggests at this point, if you wanted to and you're not quite sure, you could drill a few holes, and that gives you some options to test out and see how it reacts in your particular installation. But for me, I'm just going to drill the holes right here, down along through this mount, and if you're following along and it works, that's what you do. If not, I'll tell you where to adjust it to once we go and mount it onto the back of the Ranger outside, which will be very, very shortly. Now, because you want to get this fairly symmetrical, I'm actually lining up with the slot that's in the bottom of this slat. And so that I can see what I'm doing, I find a good tip and trick, unless you've got like a chalk pen or something like that, so a white marker that you can use on the black, just put a bit of painter's tape down. You can put your little mark there, probably should center punch it. And then in this case, because I've got the bracket kind of in the road, so if you're following along, I'd actually do this beforehand because the bracket's sort of impeding where you drill in. I'm going to use a smaller bit first and then obviously increase my size as I go through. Unfortunately, it's going to be on a bit of an angle, but it will be like that pretty much anywhere. Unless you use a right angle drill, which I do actually have, and I might actually use that for this because that means I can get it down into here and not put it on such an aggressive angle. So I might just quickly swap this over, use that, and that should have it as nice as you possibly can, but it's not a big drama. As long as that fitting sits in square, it won't be any drama at all. It's just a case of getting the hole in there, putting the mounting bolt through, and then we can fit our strut on and it'll be all okie dokie. So I'll drill these out now so we get those mounting bolts in and then see how it all works. And then as we've been doing, you just insert the little bolt that has a receiver for the gas strut on it into the hole with a washer on it. Put a washer in from the other side, your nylock, and then do it up all nice and tight. Now the nut on this bolt is actually 12mm. If you've got a 12mm ratchet, that makes life a lot easier. Just put that on the outside here and then use a 13mm on the nylock inside, and you can get that all nice and tight without too much drama at all. I actually removed the washer off the back of it because it was a little bit tight and it was distorting how it was going in. So shh, don't tell Matt, but it should be fine anyway. All it is supporting the end of the gas strut itself. And then it's just a simple case of getting your gas strut, popping it on, doing the other side, and you're ready to take it out and mount onto your U-tub. Now there'll be a few little bits of hardware left over that you mightn't necessarily be sure what they're for. First is these little black bits here that have the little bumpers on the bottom of them, which is a really nice touch actually. You don't even get them with the mountaintop ones. So that's another big tick for Matt over there with his quality. Now what these are T-slot nuts that actually go down and run through the slot in the roller shutter itself. Now, if you've got a next-gen Ranger, don't go trying to pry off the plastic on the back end of those slots that are near the tailgate. There's an opening down under the sailplane there. You simply put these in and slot them through. Get a little small flathead or Phillips head screwdriver, and you can actually get that into the hole and use that to slide them through if they're binding up a little bit. But these little felt tabs will probably make life a lot easier. Now, once these are down, you want to sort of position them roughly where the rack's going to go, and you'll probably have to lift it up a few times just to slide them along and get them into the right spot that will line up with the mounting tabs that we've just installed onto this rack. So you've got 6 on either side. You simply just slot them in from the rear. Be careful not to drop them down the back. And then just get a little screwdriver and you can feed them easily down through the rail. And then once it's all in place, you secured it down with the M6 bolts that, again, Triple M provide with their tub racks. Now, you'll have a washer on the bottom, a spring washer in between, and then the head of the bolt here. And that simply bolts down and secures this all into place. You'll have enough to do your mounts on all 4 corners. And then don't forget you've got an additional 4 bolts that go in where your gas struts then mount down onto the tub. So let's head out to the ute and get this thing installed. Now I'm going to suggest that this is probably a lot easier with 2 people. I'm home by myself today, everyone's at school, so I'm going to try to put this rack on myself. The plan of attack is to slide it down into the tub. I've got a towel over here. So then I can sort of lay it over the top of this rail here, maneuver it over the top of the fridge, use the fridge to sort of support a little bit, and then hopefully we can just click it over the top. I might end up putting a towel on the other side, but roll that time lapse. And actually that didn't take long at all. I noticed one little thing, particularly on the wild tracks where you've got these rails on the outside, so any use to have rails and stuff like that, is you probably want to be clear so you can operate this turn knob, whether it's from inside, and I've actually put the bolt in from the inside. So if I just quickly pull this out, just the nut portion sits on the outside, the bolt goes in from the other side. I think you could probably do it both ways, to be honest, and I just figured that way it's not going to foul on the rail itself. But just have a think about the operation and things like that when you're opening and closing. But for me, I think that's probably about where it is. Now this is actually sitting, so the feet that come as part of the kit are actually sitting right at the end of the silver part before you hit the plastic that I told you not to pull off if you did try to pull that off, to put the T-nuts in. So to me that's pretty neat. Once you actually shut the tailgate, look, it all sits back nicely. You've got the Triple M logo nicely on the back, and to be honest that will work really, really well. So we'll be able to lift this up. We've got heaps of clearance at the back, and that probably makes it easier to tie things down as well. You're not having to get down behind the sail plane here and try to get into the back of it. You can actually reach in here now, and that's actually fairly easy. Now, where I was thinking that you'd mount it back a little bit further was with a traditional rack where it's fixed into place, you want it back a little bit so you can reach down through here without having to open the tailgate. We don't need to worry about that anymore because, as I'll show you in 2 seconds once I get this bolted down, simply remove these, pop it up, and you've got access for days. So I'll get this bolted down now, show you how it works, let you know if that strut position works and what changes I would potentially make there, and we're pretty much done. I am stoked. Thanks, Matt, for sending me this, because this will be a really handy everyday bit of gear that'll get us out camping, get us down to the shops, the hardware store, all that sort of thing. And if you do want to pull it off, it's pretty easy. You just obviously undo this end, and then you've simply got the bolt up the other end. You can leave the brackets in place on the roller shutter, pull the whole lot off if you've got, you know, a tall load to put in there, and it's not a big drama at all. So there's a bit of food for thought for those that are sort of considering one of these. They're not necessarily fully fixed into place. You can unbolt them really, really easy. Take them off if you need to, and then put it back into place once you've done your trip and you're ready to go back into daily mode again. Right, now that was pretty easy. I went around and adjusted things in and out just so that the feet would sit in and actually line up with the width of the roller shutter track, just to keep it all nice and tidy. So I've just shuffled them out 1 or 2 mil here and there just to get it all nice and true and sitting nicely. Now the last step you need to do is to actually lift it up and get these gas struts in the right spot, because obviously, as I found out, if you bolt them down when they're extended like this, you can't lift it up. So because I already had it in like that, I just loosened them right off, lifted it up, and then got it where it sort of felt right, and it works really, really well. So for anyone playing at home, if you're following those holes that I made for the gas struts, I've located the mount 150 mil apart from the back bracket here. It works really well, and to be honest, it's not that hard to pull down. It's got enough force in there that I think it can actually support a fair load on it, but it does actually go up quite high. So Michelle might actually struggle a little bit trying to reach that and pull it down. I might have to put a little pull down on it or something like that, but for the most part, she won't be having to operate this anyway. So let's move the camera back and I'll show you how easy it is to pull down, and we are pretty much done. Really easy install. You could do it in let's say an hour if you were taking your time and measuring things and trying to work out how it all works. But it's a real quick sort of, let's say, weekend afternoon job. Get this on, and now you've got a real practical solution, because as you can see here, I can reach all the way in. In fact, I've got my fridge in here, so I could actually open the fridge still, get to all my stuff, flop it back down, and there's no drama at all. I think it's a really good thing having the struts further back rather than going triangulated this way, because now, as I said, I've got full access to my fridge and there's no dramas at all. Obviously that fridge is on a slide, so it can also come out, but that just shows you can pretty much reach all the way down into the back of the tub with no dramas at all. So we're in shadow now, obviously, but it's a simple case of just reaching over and you can pull it straight down. How good is that? And it stays in place. It's not like it wants to force itself back up. You can simply put your little locking nubs in, and you are ready to roll. Now, hot off the press, I noticed this morning that Matt now has a whole heap of fixings that go into these trays, as well as I think a mount for a jerry can or water container or something like that, spare wheel, all that sort of thing. So when you're ordering one of these, have a look through Triple M's Facebook page and you can see the other accessories that he's starting to develop, and he makes all this in-house himself pretty much from my understanding, and it's really good quality gear. So he'll set you up with everything you need to accessorize the top of this, but if you're just looking to tie things down, I do have one really neat quick solution that doesn't involve putting eye bolts in, and that comes from Pirate Camco. So I'll quickly show you that now. We'll strap a few things down to demonstrate that you can lift it up even with a bit of weight on it, and Bob's your uncle. We're done. These are the quick lashes that you get from Pirate Camco, and as opposed to having to fix eye bolts in, and you can get some expensive movable ones that sort of compress lock in and stuff like that, these simply just slide in and then you can lash off them and they hold themselves into place. So they're a really good bit of gear and they're really quick and easy to put in, move around. You can slide them in through the rails. You can put them in these ones if you wanted to, and to me, these are a really good solution. So I've bought about 3 packets of these, so they come in lots of 4, and for me, that would be enough to tie down a few swags and a few other bits and pieces without having to worry about eye bolts or anything like that. You just simply put them in, they lock into place, you ratchet them down, and then you're ready to go. They come in, I think, like an orange or reddy color, and also the raw as well. I didn't want to clash with anything else. We've already got too many colors going on, so I just got the basic raw ones. So if you're looking for something quick and easy, you can just chuck it in the back of the ute, in behind the seat or something like that. I highly recommend these. They're really, really quite cool, and it's such a simple and elegant, neat solution. Just like that. How cool is that? And then just to demonstrate it, I put my swag, my stretcher and stuff up here. It doesn't weigh all that much. You're probably looking at, what, 20 kilos, but still, it's just the same to open. There's no dramas at all, and you're ready to head off on your camping trip. It's pretty cool. I do like it a lot, and this will get some really good use. So there you go. I'm actually really impressed by how easy it was to install that, and even to lift up and down. It's no drama at all, and I think this will be, as I've said a number of times through this video, a real practical solution for those with a dual cab ute that's looking for a bit of extra storage on top, and you still want to get that access underneath. If anything, it keeps the rack really low. You don't have to then get a rack that sits up here, so you've got the access through the sides. So it brings all your center of gravity down, even if you're looking to put a rooftop tent or something like that on. So it's a really good, simple solution. I love the fact that you can just lift it up. That is so cool, and that's why as soon as Matt released it, I went, wow, I want that. That's pretty cool. So I hope you enjoyed this. This will be the last Ranger video for quite some time, unless someone wants to sponsor me with some wheels, tyres and suspension, because the budget's ran out for the Ranger and we've got so many other projects to do. So we're back onto camp trailers and caravans. I've got a few things to do on the Journey, a few things to do on the Swan, and we've got our new camper trailer project sitting back there in the shed now, which is really exciting, that we'll get onto over the next few months. I'm just collecting stuff for it at the moment, trying to work out a plan of attack, and we'll go from there. But really, this will be our everyday setup on the Ranger now, and I think it will work really well. Just for daily duties, and obviously it suits for camping and stuff like that as well. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. I thank Matt for sending this out to me. I hope you enjoyed this, and as I always say, thanks for watching. Get out there, stay safe, have fun, and we'll catch you next time.